Hello, brothers and sisters from District 4. There's something happening that's quite special this whole week. Starting 7 p.m. tonight, we will gather together and have this wonderful opportunity to be in the presence of God for a wonderful fellowship. And you might ask something, what is something so special about this? I tell you why I'm so excited about this. I believe that God is really calling His people to come together and pray. And it is such a beautiful series of experiences that we've had for this past months and even years of how the Lord is really calling His church together to come together and pray. I believe, friends, that the Lord is really waking His people up. Just for example, like a few years ago, like not a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, GYC was wanting to have a more intimate relationship with Jesus. And you might be wondering, what is GYC? GYC is called Generation of Youth for Christ. This is a gathering of young people, young adults from all over the world, from like 40, 50 countries who come together every year to have this international convention here in the U.S., different places like Kentucky, Houston, Texas, and in other places. And friends, as the years go by, the group of people that are coming are amounting to like 3,000, 5,000 people. And the president during that time asked a friend of mine. My friend is Melody Mason, and she is the coordinator in United in Prayer in the General Conference. And she asked Melody, what can we do to somehow improve or maintain the spirituality of this conference? And Melody, just that year, came back from the Philippines. And Melody experienced a fellowship in the Philippines that she said, I have not experienced this before. You know what happened? The moment we arrived in the campus, Melody told me, Jem, I'm feeling something here that's quite special. I don't know what it is. And friends, a couple of hours before the conference began in the evening, Melody was invited. I invited her to join the group of young people to come together and pray. And friends, there's like 200 young people and young adults who showed up. And you know what they did? They just basked this whole hour in prayer. And Melody told me, actually Melody was crying. She told me later on, Jem, I have not heard so much passion as I have heard from the young people who are praying a while ago. And I told her, you know what, Mel? You know what happened? You know why there's this just so much passion and spirituality that's happening right now? I said, why? So because 100 days was spent prior to the event. 100 days of prayer. Young people, wherever they may be, some people from Luzon, from other parts of the Philippines, they gather together every day at 5 a.m. At 5 a.m., friends, to gather together and to seek for the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And Melody said, this is the reason why it's so special. And friends, the first day of the event, it was quite interesting because Melody was wanting to experience the prayer session in this conference. And by the way, friends, a prayer session begins at 5 a.m. So Melody woke up at 4 a.m. She wants to be there at 4:30. So she was walking at 4:15, 4:20, and she was thinking, I'd be alone going to that place, going to that church where they'll have this prayer session. When she turned around, there were like 20 young people who were already following her. And Melody was blown away. At that early, young people are already walking towards the church. But she was even more surprised. And when she arrived at the church, there were 60 to 100 young people who were already there on their knees at 4:30 in the morning. And so Melody suggested to the president of the youth conference here in the U.S., she said, if you want spirituality of this conference to be maintained or even go to the next level, you have to take seriously prayer. And friends, what happened is that they don't have the 100 days to do it. It was a short notice, so they did 40 days of prayer. And when it was time for the conference, they invested so much in promoting people to come to the prayer room. And you know what happened, friends? Even in the plenary session, They asked me, Jem, you could repeat the word prayer room 10, 20 times. We don't care. Just bring people to the prayer room. And friends, they gave me 10 minutes to invite people. And it means to say that they are serious with it. You know what was the result? And this is one thing that I love to see. And I love seeing happen over and over again. When we put God first, when we seek Him with all of our hearts, whatever event that we are in, whatever church activity that we are in, He shows up. The next day, our first morning, there were 200 plus young people who showed up. I think nearly 300. The next day, friends, nearly 400 people who showed up. The next day, more than 400, nearly 500 people who showed up. Year by year, it just kept on increasing. And who would think that here in the U.S., young people would run to the prayer room before 6 a.m. In the Philippines, we did it at 5 a.m. Here in the U.S., we did it at 6 a.m. But at 5:30, there are already nearly 100 young people who are already there. And one of the things that really surprised us, when we were there at Kentucky, we did not have a room big enough to cater this group of people who goes to the prayer room. So they put us in the hallway. They cordoned the hallway at the beginning of that huge convention center hallway, and they put another curtain on the other end. Guess what happened, friends? On Sabbath, it overflowed. 1,100 plus young adults, young people, and some adults there pressing before the presence of God. Here, this is one thing I realized. God desires to see His people come together and pray because He desires to pour upon us full measure of His Spirit. And this is what's happening as well at ASI. You might be wondering what ASI is all about. ASI is the gathering, is the convention of all the laymen, all the businesses. These are not initiated by pastors, but regular church members to come together in this convention because they want people in the church to experience the joy of missions wherever they may be. The slogan of this conference is sharing Christ in the marketplace. And friends, ASI was inspired by GYC. They want to see what's happening in GYC to happen as well in ASI. But you know what? Busy people are quite busy. And only a few people shows up in the first ASI that I've attended. There'd be like 20 people, 50 people. But this year, it's amazing. Our first morning, friends, more than 200 people showed up. And I think 30-40% of them were young people. And there was this hunger, there was this passion to seek the Lord together in prayer. And friends, guess what happened? The whole event was just filled with the Holy Spirit's presence. When you ask people, hey, what was your ASI experience? And they said, this is the most spiritual ASI that I've ever attended yet. This is the best ASI that I've ever attended yet. And friends, I believe that is the result of God's people coming together in prayer. The next day, more than 350 people came together. And same thing on the last day on Sabbath. Friends, this is why I'm excited for what's going to happen during this week. When God's people come together and pray, He shows up. Remember His request, His desire that He wants to happen in our church. 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14 says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, then will I hear from heaven. Friends, all these things that the Lord desires to give us, He could not wait to give it to us. But He desires to see His people on their knees, corporately, seeking after Him. And friends, let us fulfill the condition and see what the Lord is about to do. And another beautiful promise here that I'd like to read. This is found from Central Advance. This is from the Spirit of Prophecy. It says here, the promise is made on condition. This is the promise of the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. The promise is made on condition that the united prayers of God's people are offered. And in answer to these prayers, there may be expected a power greater than which comes in answer to private prayer. The power given will be proportionate to the unity of the members and their love for God and their love for one another. Friends, we're living in such a time that we need God's power. Can you imagine all of District 4 coming together, seeking for the outpouring of the Holy Spirit? Can you imagine what that will do to the community around us? Friends, God's name needs to be lifted up higher in the district that we are in. And we have to do our part. We have to come together. And God, for sure, will do His part. He cannot wait to show you what He can do through you, through me, through His church, as we gather together and pray. So friends, I'd like to invite you, come join us, 7 p.m., starting tonight. Starting tonight. What is the date again today? Today is Monday, September 26th. Starting tonight, friends, until Friday night, we will be here at Wyoming Seventh-day Adventist Church. Remember the place, Wyoming Seventh-day Adventist Church, here in District 4, 7 o'clock, and we will gather together. You'll hear testimonies, you'll hear promises, and most especially, we will end each night gathering together, fellowshipping in the presence of the Lord on our knees and experience the power of the Holy Spirit. See you tonight. God bless you.